Hey there, we're live. I'm working on, there we go. Got that just a little bit brighter there. So, all right, working on the camera there for a second. Sorry, I should have done all that before I got started, but we are live. Let me get disclaimers out of the way like always. We'll jump right into it. This is a weekly live broadcast pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is where I am, and you can come in here. I do my best to respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. So if you've got questions you needed to get answered or something you wanted to say that I haven't responded to, you can come in here and usually get it responded to. Let's see, what else? Pretty much anything's fair game. I don't have a topic planned. I let the chat kind of drive the way that the conversation's going to go. But just the only things I ask is be polite, be family friendly. You can talk about, taboo subjects like politics and religion if we want, but we have got to be polite. We've got to be friendly with people. There's no reason to hate somebody for a difference of opinion. Let them have their opinion. You can have yours. Don't start calling anybody names, cussing anybody, any of those kinds of things. We'll have to kick you guys out. But other than that, pretty much anything is fair game. So let's see. We got Carolina Kind Family Homestead. Says, cheers, brother, from Willie in Eastern North Carolina. You were here early. I don't know if you're still hanging around or not. But thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate that. Joyce says, hello from Western Oregon. My New Zealand white doe had her kits yesterday. Hard to count. I think there's 9. Not bad for a first-time mom. No, that's really good, actually. Mine had a false pregnancy. No baby bunnies from her, but I'm going to rebreed her, and we'll see how it goes the next time. Congratulations on your new litter. First-time mom. All 9 are doing well, I hope, and that's all you can ask for from a first-time mom. Chester Hickman, good evening to everyone. Well, good evening to you, too. We got Michael Vincent here. Vincent, I think it is. Says, I won't get to watch the live, but I always watch later at night. I have about 6-month-old Coternics on light. I get an egg or so a day. I have probably 5 hens, 2 males. One day I had 2 eggs. I left them in the sand. The next day they were gone. Nothing can get in there. Some prone to destroying their eggs. I feel like production should be better. Got them on Game Bird Starter High Protein. Any advice? Thanks for all you do. God bless, from North Carolina. All right. Whole lot there. You said nothing can get in there. You left the eggs in there and they disappeared. It's possible you have a bird that's eating the eggs, maybe stomping on them or something like that. You said you got them on a Game Bird Starter High Protein, so it probably isn't a protein issue. Honestly, I'm not really sure what could be happening there. 6 months old, you've got them on light. I'm assuming you've had them on light for a while. You're getting 1 or 2 eggs a day at the most. That's a little unusual. You should be getting more eggs than that for sure. I don't know how long you've had them on light. If you've only had them on there for like a week or so, you might give them just a little bit longer. Maybe they'll pick up. As far as the 2 eggs disappearing, I don't know that I've had issues with birds eating eggs, but every once in a while they do. I find a broken egg in there that they've stepped on or crushed or something like that. It could be that. There are times where birds will eat eggs. You will get that from time to time. Trying to figure out which bird's doing it may be a little tricky and how to stop it. I've heard, I have heard of people using, like, whenever they have chickens with that problem, using like ceramic eggs, putting them in there, and the birds, peck at those and then realize they're not real eggs, and then they kind of stop eating the eggs. But I don't know. You could try something like that with the quail. I don't know where you'd find ceramic quail eggs. Maybe you could find them somewhere. You could try that and see if that helps kind of deter any of those behaviors. We'll see if somebody else has got some advice in the comments or anything that they can add to it. We'll shout it out for you. George Kaiser says, morning, everyone. A sunny Good Friday here today. Well, it's not morning here anymore, but good thing it's sunny there. It's not going to be sunny here. It's going to be stormy all weekend long. But, hey, that's okay. Verna says, hey, Chris, 5th like. Awesome. We got 13 likes already, so we're on our way. Let's see. Then we got a couple people saying hi to Verna, which we'll skip over and let you guys read. Alan says, hey, Chris, and all from Virginia. I hope everyone's having a great week. Well, it's not so bad here. It's been pretty good so far anyway. Hopefully yours is going well, too. Andy Dundas says, hey, says everybody from Middleville, Michigan. Nice day today, but thunderstorms tomorrow. Yeah, that's kind of what we were at today. Today was actually, I mean, it was pretty nice. I think we got up close to about 80 degrees. It was pretty windy. The wind was blowing pretty hard, and we got storms coming in tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. Monday looks clear, which I took Monday off because it's the opening day of turkey season. It looks clear. The weather looks pretty decent. And then we got rain again Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know how far into the future. So we're going to have some possible flooding issues around here, but oops, bumped the desk, but hopefully not too bad. CJ Reyes is here, says, hey, Chris, and everyone, good evening to you. Hopefully you're doing well, too. All clean exteriors from West Virginia or Western Michigan. Sorry, I read that wrong. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Kinfolk says, finally have eggs in the incubator. Awesome. Well, hopefully you have a good hatch. I have eggs in the incubator. I kind of told this story last week. I'll tell it again for those that don't know, but I think my incubator was turned off for like a day and a half, maybe 2 days. I don't really know. It's plugged into a power strip that's on the floor. And I just came in one day and realized I don't hear anything. Looked down, realized it was turned off, turned it back on. They'd already been incubating for a couple of days before that. I think it was probably like 2 days because the robot vacuum got stuck in here, and I think it probably turned it off when it got stuck. Not at the same time, but I'm just saying, it probably bumped it, turned it off, the power strip, and then got stuck on a cord or something. I had to go put it back up, and I think it was the next day before I realized the incubator was off. So I'm guessing it was probably the better part of 2 days. I don't think I'm going to get any of them to hatch, but I'm letting them go as I'm collecting eggs this week. And, I'll candle them this weekend because it would be right about time to move them into lockdown. If they all look like they're bad, well, I'll just throw them all out and start over. But good luck on your hatch. Hopefully it goes well. Jacob Lefebvre, I think it is, says, hello to all. Hello to you too. Thanks for joining us tonight. Notifications coming through. Oh. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, hello everyone from Ohio. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Homestead Matters says, happy Friday Eve from Eugene, Oregon. Hope everyone is doing well. Putting some jumbo white quail eggs on lockdown tonight. Well, I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Good luck with your hatch. Hopefully you have great success with that. George says, my quail stomp the eggs if I don't pull them out in a timely manner. I've had that happen where they've stomped a few of them. Not a regular thing. I mean, it wouldn't be all the time necessarily. I don't know. And that's another point too. I don't know when you're collecting eggs, who was it that we were talking to that's not watching, but it's going to watch later? Michael Vincent, I think it is. Anyway, Vincent, maybe. I don't know. Anyhow, you know who you are. I may have pronounced your name wrong, and if I did, I'm sorry. But anyway, you know who you are. So, I don't know what time you're collecting eggs. When you do collect them, I usually collect first thing in the morning. I find most of my birds lay in the afternoons, the evenings. I usually collect first thing in the morning, but you may want to start collecting, like in the evening and in the morning, just to see if you can get a hold of them or get them down a little bit quicker. Verna says if quail eat eggs, they would leave shells behind. That's probably a good bet. You're probably right. So, I mean, there could be something else getting in there and getting your eggs. I mean, you said nothing can get in, but, are you sure about that? Are you sure they're not burying them under a sandbox, under the sand? I've had that happen before, too, where I'm looking around like, where are all the eggs? And they were under the sand, like covered up with sand. But I don't know. Tony from Toronto's here. Good to see you, Tony. Verna says, usually if there isn't any egg shells, could be a snake that gets in and eats the eggs. That could be. I kind of doubt it, though, because you're talking about an everyday occurrence. Snakes wouldn't come back every single day and eat the eggs every single day. I mean, that could happen once or twice here or there. But, I mean, once a snake, I mean, if he were to eat a couple of eggs, he's going to be good for a while. He's not going to need to eat again for another 3 or 4 days or a week at least. And not going to come back and eat again the next day. But that's a good thought. It could happen. All Clean Exterior says, have a big lean-to. Is there any problem running rabbit hutches and quail rollout cages above chickens? Shouldn't be a big deal. Well, Verna's got a good suggestion too. She says, not as long as you make the top of the cages roosting proof. That's a good idea. You don't want to have the chickens on top of the rabbit hutches, dropping excrements on them. and make sure that the chickens have plenty of space to be able to get away, so they're not trapped right under the cages getting urinated on and that kind of stuff. But it shouldn't be an issue other than that. Verna says, life done cheap with Lee, which area of Ohio, I believe, or I'm between Cincinnati and Dayton. Life done cheap with Lee says, about when do you expect a doe to pull fur before birth? She's 3 days out. Honestly, most of mine hardly ever pull their fur until like right when they have their babies, and it's very rare. Usually, I'm waiting. They don't show any signs of being pregnant, nothing at all. And then all of a sudden, I go out there and there's a bunch of fur in the nest box. They've had their babies. It's rare that they pull it beforehand, so don't stress about that. It's perfectly normal. Hey, there's Linda. Linda says, hey, Chris and all my wonderful quail friends, tuning in from Sacramento, California. Happy to be here. I saw it was your birthday the other day. Happy birthday to you. Hopefully you had a good birthday. George says, you know who you are, LOL. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm terrible with pronouncing names sometimes, so hopefully they know I was talking to them. Let's see. I'm going to skip a couple of these where everybody's talking to other people. And let's see. Don's here. Don says hello to Linda. Says it's been a long time no see. And says I just got in. Well, hey, we're happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Life done cheap with Lee says I was definitely stressed about no fur in the box. LOL. Yeah, it's always one of those things like you just don't think it's going to happen. Like, what's going on? Why is my doe not ready to have her babies? She's 3 days out. She should be doing something that they don't. They don't show any sign whatsoever, it seems like, other than like hay stashing a couple of days before they're due. There's really not much of a sign at all. And once they get their nest built, then they're back to just acting normal, like nothing's going on. And sometimes they don't even build their nest until about the time that their babies are due. But anyhow, don't stress about that. Chances are you'll still probably have a good litter. Dawn says, got my egg peeler tonight, ordered Prime 4-3. Now I have to wait about 2.5 to 3 weeks to get some eggs. Oh, well, it's going to be well worth it. Whenever you do get the eggs, that egg peeler is pretty nice. It actually works really, really well. You probably saw the video. I peeled all those eggs. I took all those eggs. I don't know, it was close to 30 probably, to my cousin's house it was their Easter dinner last weekend, and took them there, and they all got eaten, every single one of them. And there were other deviled eggs there too. Not all of those got eaten, but every single one of those quail eggs got eaten. Everybody loves them. Alan says, making deviled quail eggs for the first time for the family for Easter dinner. Yeah, they're going to love them. They are great. Verna says, to life done cheap with Lee, if there are kits with no fur, then you worry. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. It's rare that happens, but if it does happen, that would be a little bit of a concern. You can pull fur from the dewlap of the rabbit to kind of help cover the babies up with. Whenever they do give birth, there's a hormone that they release that makes that fur really easy to pull out. So don't stress about that. Just you can pull some fur if you need to. You probably won't have to. Cindy says, good evening, everyone. Cool, rainy afternoon here in wherever you are. It cut off. But yeah, it's been hot here. Not hot, but warm, like roughly 80 degrees. Windy. But yeah, we've got stormy weather coming this weekend. So it's going to be, I think, a little bit of a cold front coming through. Not terribly cold, probably in the maybe 60s or something. Verna says, let's see. Says, cool, Alan, helpful hint, put your yolk mixture in a piping bag. That makes them pretty. Yeah, if you do have a piping bag, do that. I usually I don't have a piping bag because I'm not a big baker or anything like that, so I don't have piping bags, but I do have Ziploc bags, and I just cut a corner off that and use that to kind of squeeze it into the eggs. It makes it a lot easier to do. Piping bag would be much prettier, but, I don't have one. George says, to be honest, quail are such a hassle, really small and thick-shelled, but you get used to that, peeling, opening the quail scissors, etc. Yeah, and it's not so much that the shells are super thick, it's that the membrane is really pretty tough. So you can't just crack it like a chicken egg. It doesn't break open. It just kind of cracks around the edge, But the egg peeler makes it way easier to do. Um, let's see where we at here. Verna says to George, yeah, says yes, but George, deviled quail eggs are the bomb. Yeah, I agree. Deviled eggs in general are really good, and deviled quail eggs are just fantastic. It's a little bit of work putting them together, but man, they're good. Everybody always raves about them too. They're always like amazed when you bring deviled quail eggs to a party. They're like, where'd you get quail eggs? They always wonder. And Verna says, one bite wonders, indeed. Don says, you are wanting me to make deviled quail eggs when my babies start laying. You're wanting me to make deviled quail eggs. I think what you're trying to say is basically we're wanting you to make deviled quail eggs whenever your babies start laying. Well, hey, do it, because who cares? I mean, why wouldn't you want to make deviled quail eggs? Deviled eggs are awesome. Generally speaking, and I like them. Deviled are really good, but I like them just hard boiled too. And just kind of roll them in some salt, pop them in your mouth. They're fantastic. Don says, you're making me want to make them, is what I meant. Yeah, I kind of figured that out. Cindy says, they're good and so blasted cute on a plate. Yeah, there's that too. It is always a crowd pleaser because everybody's always amazed by them, first of all. And then plus they just taste fantastic too. So it always does. You get a lot of attention from them. Not that that's your goal, but it works. Matthew says, I'm Freddie, probably using somebody else's account, says, I'm 7. Can kids raise quail? Absolutely, you could. Yeah, I mean, talk to your parents, get their permission. You're going to have to get their buy-in with it. There's no reason you couldn't, though. You could absolutely do it. Dawn says, I was going to hard boil them, but I may as well go all the way. Yeah, no kidding. And hard boiling is really easy. It takes 4 minutes. So I bring my water to a boil, dump my eggs in. I kind of stir them for the first minute or two, just to kind of gently stir, just to keep them moving, so you don't get the yolk stuck to one side. 4 minutes, they're done. Don says, didn't they have quail egg trays on Etsy or somewhere? Probably. I don't know. I don't have a quail egg tray. We do have a big serving dish kind of thing. It's just a dish. We just set them on there. I don't have a specific tray for the quail eggs. George says, why not, Matthew? Quail are irrelative. I don't know. Relatively, I think it's what it's supposed to be, but there's a typo, I believe. It says relatively easy to raise and hardy birds. Yep, absolutely. You could absolutely raise them. And Verna says, yes, Freddie, kids can raise them. You can. Improving Isaac is here. Says, evening, friends. Good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Don says, I hard-boiled and hand-peeled before I had surgery and still had birds. Yeah, I was hand-peeling eggs for the longest time, and it's not that big of a deal if you're just doing a handful, 5 or 6 or something. But, man, you get much more than that. It is a little bit of a pain. It's a lot of eggs to peel when you're trying to do deviled eggs, especially for a group, because you need a bunch of them. They're not very big. Again, egg peeler makes that a lot easier. Hogwaller Creek Homestead says, howdy from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. I have no idea where that is other than South Carolina. But thank you for joining us tonight. Good to see you. Don says, someone said you could possibly peel a chicken egg on one of these just to try it out. Yeah, I don't know if a chicken egg, I don't know if it would work on that or not. I haven't tried. So I don't have chicken eggs. I mean, I've got more quail eggs than I can eat, so I never buy chicken eggs. But I'm kind of curious if it would work too. I know somebody commented on video wanting to know if it would work for chicken or duck eggs. I honestly don't know. I don't think duck eggs are pretty big. I'm not so sure they would fit in there. I will tell you that, those little rollers, they grab pretty well. So there's a good chance it would work for a chicken egg. I'm not sure that chicken eggs would peel as well on there because the membrane in them is not like quail eggs. The membrane in there, the shell sticks to that. So I think that's kind of what helps is it grabs the shell and starts to pull it off. Well, it pulls it grabs the membrane basically, and the shell kind of sticks to that. Chicken eggs aren't quite like that. When I peel chicken eggs, they tend to come off in little pieces. It's not like the whole thing coming off kind of in one piece. So I don't know if it would work or not, but it'd be worth a try, I suppose. Berna says, I had hand crank like you, Chris, then an electric. Felt as if I was doing it faster by hand. Yeah, I haven't tried the electric ones, and I can't justify the cost of those. They're pretty expensive, but I'm sure they work fine. I don't know. Hogwaller Creek Homestead says, my Bob Whites finally started laying eggs about a week ago. Well, awesome. Congratulations on that. I hear Bob Whites are not real prolific layers. I don't know how many eggs you get out of them, over a period of time, but glad to hear that they are laying. Proving Isaac says, you have outside rabbit hutches. Do you get very windy where you are? Oh, yeah, we get a lot of wind. Says, my wind is nuts. Well, today, for example, we were pretty steady, I think 20 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour wind, gusts up to like 30-ish, 35 miles an hour maybe. It's pretty common in the spring. We got storms coming through. We'll probably get 50 mile an hour winds in the storms. We get a lot of wind. I wouldn't say it's windy all the time. We're not the Great Plains. We're close. I mean, just north of us is started the Great Plains, but so we have a lot of wind break with the trees and stuff. But yeah, I still get a lot of wind here. Don says, that makes sense, Chris. I don't know what I was talking about now. I don't remember now, but with the chicken eggs in the peeler. Yeah, okay. Alan says, someone told me to boil the quail eggs longer, like 10 minutes or so, and they would peel easier. I haven't tried. I think 10 minutes would be way overdoing it. I mean, they're done at 4 minutes, but I don't know. Maybe give them 5. I don't think I'd go 10. I mean, 10 seems like a long time for a quail egg, but I don't know. I haven't tried. Jacob says, have you noticed if fresh or older eggs work better for peeling? A little bit older, like day old fresh eggs are a little bit harder to peel, and you have a tendency to kind of, it's not so much that they're harder to peel, it just, you have a tendency to kind of tear the egg up a little bit when they peel. Like little pieces of it come off or little chunks of it come off. 2-day old or 4-day old or something like that seem to peel just a little bit easier. Hogwaller Creek Home says, I want one of those egg peelers in your video. Well, they're in my Amazon shop. Go pick one up. They're about $30-ish, $34, I think, shipped, something like that, unless it's gone up in the past couple of days, which I haven't seen. I should check real quick. Let's take a look and see what the price is right now. Let's see. Oh, it has gone up a little bit. It's $36.99 right now. But you might be able to, you could search around and see. I don't know if there's any cheaper ones out there. That was the cheaper of the ones that I found when I was looking for them. So hard to say. I don't know. Homestead Matters says, for those chicken eggs, for those with chickens, Easter egg or chicken eggs are my go-to for hard boil. Even day-old eggs, the shells separate immaculately. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had Easter egg or eggs, but who knows? Verna says, not if you know how to shop, Chris. There's usually times when things are cheaper. No, absolutely. There are times when they do get cheaper. And Cindy says, I have a weasel getting into my quail cage. I only had 2 ladies and 1 gent left, so many weasels here in Minnesota. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. That is unfortunate. We don't deal with weasels really around here, but we do have other things that would get in there. Luckily, nothing's really getting into mine. I did have a big black snake that got in, but it was because I had a gap in the wire at the top. I closed that up, and we're all good. Square Body LT says, morning from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I have 12 eggs in the incubator and 2 broody hens laying on 12 eggs in the nesting box. So broody quail hens, is that what you're talking about? They're laying on their eggs or sitting on their eggs in the nesting box. Are we talking chickens or quail? It's unusual for quail to actually sit on their eggs. If they do, they usually don't do it for the entire time. They don't do a good job of brooding or of hatching out eggs on their own. It can happen. It's just not a common thing. But hey, good luck. Hopefully you have a great hatch. Homestead Matter says, I can't imagine a 10-minute boiled quail egg boiling for 4 minutes and then ice water bath gets the yolks fully cooked. Yeah, I agree. I think 10 minutes seems like a very long. Seems like a very long time to boil quail eggs. Proving Isaac says, "I'll try your tarp method." For you're talking about like on the rabbit shed that I've got the tarps pulled down on it. Yeah, I don't pull the front tarps down very often, but I've also got, my quail hutch faces this way. Just say faces this way, like towards the screen, towards you guys. The predominant wind is a crosswind across that. So it's not very often that the wind's blowing into the front of the cage. It's blowing across the front of the cage. The only time I ever pull the tarps down is if we have like storms or something like that, and then I'll pull them down, keep them from getting all kinds of rained on and things like that. But other than that, they do fine. Let's see. Rabbit Homesteading here says, "Hey, Chris," and hi to Verna. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Bev Smith says, "I started boiling a little longer when using my peeler, maybe 6 minutes, then let sit for another off heat." Did that help with something? I mean, I've never boiled that long. I always do 4 minutes and then throw them in some cool water. George says, "Chris, always wanted to ask how long to age quail. I usually freeze them first and then age them for 3 to 4 days when I thaw before cooking. Not sure if that should be the other way around." I always do it the other way around. I always wait until rigor mortis leaves. Usually with quail, it's 48 hours-ish, something like that. But honestly, I'm usually leaving them in there for, better part of a week, because it's just hard for me to deal with that kind of stuff after I get home from work in the evenings. I usually just, I process one weekend and usually freeze them the next week. But, usually after about 48 hours, they'd be, good to go ahead and put in the freezer. Yeah, Verna's basically saying the same thing. Never freeze until rigor mortis leaves the meat. I mean, if what you're doing is working, you can do it for sure. It's not going to hurt it necessarily. It just tends to make it a lot tougher. So it's usually a little bit easier to, a little bit more tender, I guess, if you rest the meat first and then freeze it. Rabbit Homesteading agrees with Verna, though, 100%. George Kaiser says, "I don't really notice the rigor mortis the other way around, Verna. Have you tried both ways? Freeze first versus age first?" I have not really tried that, so I can't speak to it. Matthew says, "Freddie's mom here, just worried about eating the quail we raise with kids involved. What do you think?" Well, it depends on the kids, really, honestly. Grab a drink here. It depends on the kids. Some kids are a little bit more attached to that stuff. Some kids aren't. I grew up in a country family where we caught, hunted, grew a lot of our own food. So I was exposed to it at a young age. It never bothered me too much. I always understood where my food came from. It made, I think, probably a little bit of a difference in, like, not wanting to waste things, understanding that, it's not, it was a living thing, treat it with respect, those kinds of things. So, if you do it right, you can definitely teach your kids some, some good, valuable lessons. And one of them being just knowing where your food comes from and understanding that, we should not waste it. We should not, we should treat them with respect. We should, all those kinds of things that go along with that. So, you're going to have to make that determination for yourself. And just because you have quail too doesn't mean you have to eat them. If you want to keep some quail around just for laying eggs, you can do that. You don't even need roosters for that. Hens will lay eggs, regardless of whether there's a rooster around. Square Body LT says, "No chickens. The quail are nixed. No chickens. The quail are nixed. Either I will order some eggs or get some quail." Okay, gotcha. So yeah, chickens will hatch their own chicks a lot of the times. Quail it's very rare. Verna says, "Yes, George, they are stiffer if frozen before." George says, "I'll try that next time. Try resting it first." I agree. I think that's a good idea. Verna is saying Matthew Deptula, or whatever the name is. I guess it's actually Freddie's mom. we don't know. We'll figure it out anyway. It says, if they're old enough to eat chicken, they're old enough to eat quail, or they can eat quail. Yeah, I didn't take that question as if that's what you're asking. Like, would they be? Yeah, they should. They absolutely can eat it. I mean, that's no problem. I don't think that's what you were really getting at, though. Maybe I didn't answer that correctly. If not, ask another question or clarify. I'll go into a little bit more detail if I need to. But it would be a good opportunity to teach, kids some good responsibility, taking care of animals. And then again, understanding where your food comes from, because if you're not processing it yourself, you're basically just paying somebody else to do that for you, which, there's good, valuable lessons to be learned either way. Rabbit Homesteading says, or debone if that's what you are doing. Let rigor mortis happen while boned. If deboned, it tightens meat up and bones help hold it away to get it tender. Okay, so in other words, you're saying don't debone it until after rigor mortis leaves if you're going to debone. Okay, well, that makes sense. I don't know that I've ever tried to debone one before rigor mortis. I always just let it rest, let it age a little bit, and then go ahead and freeze it or debone and cook or whatever I want to do. Verna says, Cindy, you may want to go with a heavier gauge wire if I was you. Did I miss a comment from Cindy? What are we talking about? I don't see anything from Cindy. Did I miss it? Or did I respond to it maybe? I don't remember what we're talking about. Old Colony Gardens says, Freddie's mom, teach them young. Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably good advice. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, duck eggs hard boil for 12 minutes, then 10 minutes in cold water. Shell peels off with ease. Makes wonderful deviled eggs. I can't imagine. I mean, I've had duck eggs are great. I love duck eggs. But I can't imagine a deviled duck egg. I mean, that would be awful big, wouldn't it? That may be a good thing. I don't know. They make really good fried egg sandwiches, but I can't imagine trying to devil them. I don't know. So Verna's saying to Freddie's mom, says, I would advise you to sit and watch processing videos with Freddie. It's not a bad idea. Let's see. And then we got Matthew, Freddie's mom, I guess, saying, thankful for the response with broody hens hatch quail eggs. It's possible. There's lots of people that have used like bantam chickens. Bantam, is that the right word? Anyway, the littler, smaller chickens, and have had them go broody and hatched quail eggs with them. It's probably not something that you can just count on happening all the time, especially if you're talking like a full-size chicken. It's a little big. I don't know that it would really do a great job with hatching out the chickens or hatching out the quail. If you want to hatch them out, your best bet really is to get an incubator to do it. Hogwaller Creek Homestead says weasels. Just weasels. That's it. Is that a reference to what we were talking about with Cindy? Maybe. Verna says, Cindy, another thing that might help with those vermin, how about Premier Electric Poultry Fence? They do have it in solar. Yeah, that's not a bad idea either. And, that's, there's one, put just one strand of electric wire around your quail hutch, take some aluminum foil, smear some peanut butter on it, fold that over that about every foot or so, put one of those pieces like that. Whatever's coming up is going to be attracted to peanut butter. They're going to go up there, lick that peanut butter, and bam, they're probably never going to come back again. So, that's one way you can kind of deal with that too. Hogwaller Creek Homestead says yes. Oh, reference to what I was talking about with Cindy. Okay, gotcha. Let's see. Jesse Jones says, I used a Silky to hatch quail. She was a great mom. Well, there you go. Silkies. Jonathan says, can you put water bottles on male rabbits to keep fertile? Won't keep the testicle. Oh, you're talking about freezing water bottles, putting them in with the rabbits so that they stay cool enough and you don't have to worry about the male going sterile. Let me tell you, yeah, you can try that for sure. When I used to freeze water bottles, like 2-liter bottles, and put them in the rabbit hutches. They didn't even seem to use them at all. It didn't seem to make any difference. They just kind of hung out in there. And the water bottles were pretty much thawed out by the time it got to the hottest part of the day because I was putting them in the morning going off to work. So I don't know that it really did much good for my rabbits. The other thing is, too, it's not a guarantee that your bucks are going to go sterile. It's something that can happen. But it's not, I wouldn't even say that it's like super common. It's not, I wouldn't stress about it too much. until you start having some issues. But if you want to go ahead and throw some frozen water bottles in there, go for it and see if they'll use them. My rabbits never really leaned up against them, but never seemed to kind of really use them at all. But other people report other things. They say the rabbits love them. I honestly, like I said, never saw one of my rabbits lay up against them. Jonathan says, okay, thank you. Well, you're more than welcome. How are we doing on time here? We got like 25 minutes left. The chat is slowing down. So waiting to see, we got to wait on the chat to catch up before I have anything to talk about, honestly. Jonathan says, do you still have rabbits? Oh, yeah. I've got the 2 silver fox breeders, the 2 Tamuk, which are basically a New Zealand white. 2 of those breeders. Right now, I've got 8 baby silver foxes out there. They're just a couple of weeks old. So, yeah, I've got plenty of rabbits right now. Hogwaller Creek Homestead says, my rabbit did not use water bottles either. Yeah, it was just more work for me for no reward, really. I mean, just wasn't any use. Homestead Matter says, happy Easter, y'all. Anyone dyeing quail eggs? Well, happy Easter to you, too. No, we're not. I don't ever dye eggs. Well, I mean, I did, I guess, when my kids were young. We did that a couple of times, but I just don't do it. Jonathan says, I have babies on the ground. On the ground? Like, I don't know. What? Oh, sorry, I got distracted by another comment. So your rabbits, you have your rabbits like on the ground, not in a cage, and they're having babies on the ground. So hopefully that goes well. I don't see why it wouldn't. Bev says, I am, just for a business page post, makes a great picture. So in other words, you're dyeing eggs just so you can post them for a business page. That makes sense. Nothing wrong with that at all. Cindy Rapp says, thank you for all the great advice. I always learn something when I'm here. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're finding it helpful. Jonathan says, baby rabbits, LOL. Yeah, I kind of figured that out. It just surprised me, the on the ground part. I raise my rabbits in cages, so I don't have them on the ground. George says, let's see, winter is on its way here. Have to winterize the eggplants, chilies, capsicums. I've noticed quail poop takes a good 6 months to turn to fertilizer. It does. It depends really on how if you're just piling it up, yeah, it's going to take a while. If you mix it in with some carbon and turn it pretty frequently, you can get it to break down a lot quicker than that. I've, by turning it every day and having the right carbon mixture, I've got finished compost out of, all kinds of things, quail manure including, in like 2 weeks. But it's a lot of work. You got to turn the pile like every day. Where are we at here? Zohar says, chicken question. Today is day 19 and 7 of 18 eggs have already hatched. I'm going to let them run loose under quail cages. How long can I leave in the brooder since so early? So let's see. You've got chickens that hatched out on day 19. That is pretty early. Yeah. And you're wanting to know how long you can leave the chickens in the brooder. Well, leave them in there till they're fully feathered out and kind of acclimated to the temperature, which, with chickens, let's see, most chickens, it's going to take 3 weeks, something like that. I'm not a chicken expert. The only chickens I've raised were meat chickens that tend to feather out a little bit faster. But even with those, we're looking at probably close to 3 weeks before I'm moving them outside. Verna says, yes, George, that's why you need rabbits too. Yeah, rabbits, you can use their manure fresh. You don't have to compost it at all. It's a cold manure. Bev Smith says, stupid garden question. Can I add compost anytime or just in between planting seasons? I'm in Florida. Yeah, you can absolutely add it anytime you want to. It really is best to add that stuff. There's nothing wrong with adding it later. In fact, you want to top dress your plants with some compost. That's perfectly all right. It's really best to add a good layer of compost in the fall and let that sit over until spring when you go to plant into it. But adding additional compost to it after that, no problem whatsoever. You can absolutely do it. As long as it's finished compost, you're not adding like fresh. When I say finished compost, it's not super hot anymore. you're not adding like just straight, poultry like quail or chicken manure straight to the garden. You don't want to do that. You want to compost it first. Now, rabbit manure, again, is a cold manure. You don't have to compost it. You can add that straight to the garden anytime you want. Matthew says, let's see, I'm thinking about raising quail with my hens, currently on day 9 of incubation with Coturnix. So awesome. Is that now? Am I getting this mixed up? Matthew's not the same one we were talking about with. Are you? I'm not sure if I'm getting you mixed up. Are you not Freddie's mom? I don't know. Anyway, so you're thinking about raising quail with your hens, currently on day 9 of incubation with Coturnix. Okay. So, yeah, you can absolutely try that. I mean, what do you got to hurt, right? Just try, see if it works. Bev Smith says, I have a compost tumbler and turn it often, so I have a lot of compost. I've never had real good luck with compost tumblers. I've always had much better luck composting on the ground. It is a little bit more work to turn it. But if it's working for you, that's fantastic. George says, please, Verna, if we get rabbits, it's another thing Dad has to take care of, LOL. My rabbits are pretty easy to take care of, honestly. Verna says, roll on the floor laughing, George, at least you know their future meals. Yeah, no kidding. Jonathan says, he's the rabbit guy, LOL. Who's the rabbit guy? What are we talking about? I missed that one. Jonathan says, you gotta let the chicken poop compost sit for a while. It will burn up plants. Yeah, it's just like quail manure. I mean, the same thing. You got to compost. You got to break it down first. Otherwise, it will. It's too high in nitrogen. Bev Smith says, winter is our best growing season. Summer is our worst, LOL. Yeah, where are you located? That we can't grow in the winter here. It gets too cold. But, spring and fall are pretty nice. Summer can be a little hard sometimes with the heat because it gets, pretty hot in the middle of summer. I really need to invest in some shade cloth. That would help a lot. But, still do pretty good in the summertime usually. Verna says, when you pull up your garden in the fall, you can add the quail droppings then. Yeah, you could. Absolutely. Zora says, I said brooder, I meant incubator to allow the other chicks to hatch since only day 19 instead of 21. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Okay, so just like with quail, they can go up to 3 days. Honestly, I like to kind of move them out after about 24 hours. It's not that big a deal. Just open it up, get them out real quick, close it back up. I usually have to add a little bit more water to the incubator at that point, but try to just check the other eggs, like look through the incubator the best you can. Make sure none of them are pipped at that point. If they're not pipped and the chicks are all dry and fluffy, go ahead and move them out if you want to. Honestly, I've left birds in the incubator up to three days, 72 hours, I guess. Lost one or two here or there, but for the most part, they do okay. I like to get them out after 24 to 48, though, just to be on the safe side. Matthew says, I'm Sarah, Freddie's mom, on the husband's YouTube. Okay, I thought so. I didn't realize you had quail already. I thought that's what you were asking about earlier, so I wasn't sure if I was talking to the right person or not. But anyhow, it's okay. You can use whoever's account you want to. It's my confusion. It's hard for me to keep up sometimes with, the different names and changing and things like that. Jonathan says, rabbits are very easy to care for. I agree. Mine are pretty easy to care for. Bev Smith says, Florida, it's too hot and humid, although a few plants do well. Sweet potatoes, okra, peanuts, some southern types of spinach, Seminole squash, etc. Yeah, most of your leafy greens, your squash or your spinach, your lettuces, all those kinds of things, it's just too hot in summertime to grow them. They're going to bolt right away. Those are going to do better. Here it's early spring and late fall where those really do really, really well. But, okra, you should do well with tomatoes too. Maybe have some issues with blight, with the humidity, but those are sun-loving, heat-loving plants. They usually are going to do well. Peppers should do pretty well like that, I would think. But yeah, I get what you're saying. George says, with daylight savings, this live stream happens at 10 a.m. now. I can't make it due to work. Good Friday. Let me jump on for once. Good to be here. This is a live stream I really enjoy. Yeah, I'm sorry. If I could do it at other times, I would, but this is the time that works out for me. I work a 40-hour-a-week job, so I can't make it at other times. Usually it's just kind of difficult to do. But glad you could make it today. We actually have to work on Good Friday, but I mean, I do. Not everybody. Some places are closed down for Good Friday. Bev says, I put in some Everglades tomatoes. I'm looking forward to those. Yum. I've never heard of those before. I don't know anything about them. But my guess is that they're probably a breed that's supposed to do really, or a type of tomato that's supposed to do really well in hot, humid environments like the Everglades. That would be my guess. So hopefully you have good luck with that. Jonathan says, what type of plants can you grow in the fall? Lots of kinds, really. Honestly, anything that's going to grow pretty fast here because our fall is fairly short. We move into wintertime usually pretty quickly. Although the last couple of years it hasn't been super quick. But anyway, so, there's a lot of things that you can grow. That's when a lot of times when I'll grow like a lot of the spinach, the lettuce, the salad greens and stuff like that just don't do well in the heat of summer, growing those in the fall because they're fairly fast to produce, and they're cut and come again kind of varieties. So I can keep harvesting until the freeze hits. Those are usually what I kind of go to. There's a lot of winter squashes and stuff that you can plant kind of 6 to 8 weeks before your first frost date that would be frost hardy. I don't usually grow those, but those are options you could do. That's pretty much what I want to do, or what I do. Don says, I went on a dill seed hunt today. Nowhere can I find fern leaf dill. My fingers are crossed. My older seed sprouts. I have them in a petri dish. I have mammoth and bouquet. Both are cooler weather. I don't have problems with dill. And the worst problem I have with dill is the swallowtail butterfly. Their caterpillars just love it, and they will devour my dill plants, and I just don't have the heart to destroy them, so I just kind of let them have them. We just plant a lot of dill, so that makes up for it. But we actually had ours it seeded itself. I didn't plant it. It's just growing back up where it was at last year, and usually it does pretty well, even in the heat of summer. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, what's your favorite rabbit breed? Boy, it's hard to say. I mean, for just pure meat production, it's hard to beat a New Zealand. I've had good luck with them, although my current one's not doing real well. 2 failed litters, not necessarily her fault, and then a false pregnancy. But hey, we're going on with that. They're usually pretty good producers, do really well. I like the Silver Fox quite a bit. They have really good temperaments, usually pretty easy to handle, a lot more mellow. So I don't know if I have an absolute favorite. Each one has its kind of ups and downs. Jonathan says, I'm in Arkansas, northwest Arkansas. So, you're probably not. I mean, depending on what part of Arkansas exactly when you say northwest, you may be fairly close to me. I'm in southwest Missouri. So, Beth Smith says, I love dill. I have some sprouting now, but I doubt they'll survive my summer. Yeah, I love dill. Dill's one of my favorites. Don says, oh, you're in Bentonville. Yeah, that's just down the road. I know exactly. I'm in Joplin, Missouri. I know exactly where Bentonville is. You're not that far away. Don says, fern leaf is slow to bolt and shorter. I had a dill bed for years, and the hubby killed it when I couldn't walk. LOL. Oh, no. That's terrible. Jonathan says, I have dill for monarch butterflies. I've never seen monarchs on dill. They go after the milkweed. That's what Alan's saying. Monarchs go after milkweed. I've only ever seen them on milkweed, which we do have some growing, so they do tend to have their caterpillars on those. What we get on the dill is the swallowtail, the black swallowtail butterflies, and man, they go crazy for the dill. But I like them, so I don't tear them up. I just let them have it. Zora says, local breeder put 120 jumbo eggs in an incubator for me 3 weeks ago. Just came by telling me he mixed up eggs and infertile eggs and poor hatch rate. Oh, no. It happens. I mean, everybody does that. You mixed up the eggs through an infertile eggs. I always wonder, why would you have infertile egg? I mean, why would you have birds without a rooster if you ever hatch at all? Why would you have birds without a rooster? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm guessing that's the only way he would have known that they were infertile eggs, is if he had some birds that were laying eggs, but he didn't have a rooster in there with them. I just don't understand why you wouldn't. I mean, why not? I mean, if you want to eat the eggs, eat the eggs. If you want to hatch them, hatch them. But there's no reason not to have a rooster in there with them to make sure you have fertile eggs for when you do want to hatch. Especially if you're somebody that's a commercial breeder or a local breeder that's hatching out on a regular basis. Doesn't make sense, but that's just me. Best Gamer West Virginia, I think that's what it is, says, hey, Chris, can you tell me how long I should wait to put jumbo white quail in lockdown? They're the same as regular farrows. Yeah, it's absolutely the same. All quail, it doesn't matter what kind of, if they're Coternics, it doesn't matter what kind of colors, pattern, or whatever they have. It's the exact same amount. You go into lockdown on about day 15. They should hatch out on around day 18. Zora said, he said his customers insist on infertile egg. Is silly. I'm not sure. You know, if your customers are insisting on infertile eggs for eating, they probably don't know how to tell if an egg is fertile or not. So I don't. But then again, you know, that would be dishonest. So I guess. But okay. You know, let's see, Matthew or Sarah, I think it is. But anyway, says, thank you for your time and for sharing your wisdom, sir. You're the reason I decided on Jumbo Farrow Coternics. Well, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you for watching the videos and joining the live stream. How are we doing on time now? 9 minutes left. George Kaiser says, same as regular Best Gamer. Yep, I agree. Let's see, Jonathan says, I love my Tamuk rabbits. Yeah, I'm liking mine too. New Zealand's in general just tend to be a little bit more neurotic and crazy. My doe, she's not super aggressive or anything, but she is a little bit wound up. You go reaching in there and she starts growling and stuff, and like she's a little spastic. You know, like you start petting her and she calms right down, but still a little bit crazy. Not like the silver foxes; they're much more mellow. Homestead Matters says, "Oh wait, Best Gamer says thanks, buddy. You're absolutely welcome." Homestead Matters says, I keep a pen of only females because some people prefer unfertilized eggs. I believe some reptiles need unfertilized eggs too. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that would be true. Why would I don't understand why any reptile. I don't know that that's true or not. But who knows? And I guess by some people, I guess that's city folk, right? That think that they have to eat unfertilized eggs. They don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want to. Bev Smith says, anyone in here have button quail? I was thinking of getting a few for my indoor aviary. Has finches and a pair of turtle doves in there now. I was wondering if the hatch process is the same as Coternics. I do not raise button quail. I never have, but I know there's a couple of people that watch the channel that have been in the live streams before that have done button quail. So we'll see if they're in here tonight and they can give you some advice. Dawn says, what's the difference between Tamuk and New Zealand rabbits? Tamuk is a New Zealand rabbit. It's just a specific breed of them, I guess, that's been kind of specially bred to be heat tolerant. But they're a New Zealand white. They're just a type of New Zealand white. Jonathan says, I had a Tamuk doe. She was really in the mood to be bred. She was very grumpy, growl, etc. Yeah, I get that with mine too. She's very vocal, and I always worry about her every once in a while, kind of nipping at my arm or something. She'll nip at my sleeve occasionally, and like I said, not super aggressive. She's just kind of wound up, just excited. And I always worry. I always got to be careful when I open that door. I'm afraid she's going to jump out. She's all super excited about things going on. Bev Smith says, I sell a lot of quail eggs to reptile breeders. She never said anything about infertile eggs. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, how would in the wild, almost all eggs are going to be fertile. I mean, most animals don't lay, most birds are going to lay fertile eggs, and reptiles eating eggs is a common thing. I don't know where in the wild they would ever find unfertile eggs or how they would even know. It doesn't make any sense, but, Andy says, I'm signing off for the evening. Good luck with your turkey hunt next week. Thanks. Yeah, I don't have super high hopes. It's always fun to go out, and we do, most of the time we'll at least hear some turkeys, but there's not a huge population, so it's really hard. I mean, it's not like what you watch on TV where they're hunting these high population turkey areas and, turkeys all over the place. We have we'll hear some, and last year we called 2 in. We were sitting on a little, my cousin and I both sitting on this little stand of trees. We had seen them in the field, so we got down there real quick, sat down, had set some decoys out, called them in. They came down and then went behind us, and they were, just 5-10 yards at the most behind us, standing back there drumming and gobbling and everything, but they were behind us. They wouldn't come to the front. So anyway, that usually happens. Jonathan says, I bred her and she calmed down and mellowed out. Yeah, that happens a lot too. Jonathan says, are the turkey populations decreasing? I don't think so. Honestly, they're I only started turkey hunting maybe 10 years ago because there just weren't turkey around here when I was a kid at all. The conservation department has repopulated them. The turkey population, as far as I know, is increasing, improving. We're seeing more turkey on our game camps where I hunt than we really ever do. I mean, it goes up and down. Sometimes we see a lot of them, and sometimes some years we don't see a lot of them. But I don't think they're decreasing. Best Gamers West Virginia says Chris, good night, buddy. I haven't been able to catch you live for a long time. Hope life is good. It's going all right. Hopefully it's going well for you too. Thank you for joining us tonight, and you have a good night if you're taking off. We've still got 5 minutes left, so I'll be here for another 5 minutes. Nuno Mello says, I sell a lot of eggs for people that have reptiles, and they all ask for unfertilized eggs. I don't know why. Probably some kind of wives' tale or something, some kind of thing they read somewhere that they believe that's probably not true. I don't know why it would make any difference whatsoever. Unless they plan on like storing the eggs out on the counters for an extended period of time. They don't want them to start developing, but even then, I don't think your reptile is going to care. Jonathan says, are the hens setting right now? Are they hens setting right now? I don't know what you're asking. The hens, what hens are they setting right now? I don't know. I don't know what you're asking, if you're asking me or not. Zora says, cucumbers almost ready. Picked tomatoes, zucchini, and peppers today. Wow, you're way ahead. I don't know if I'm going to plant much of anything this year, but we've still got another couple of weeks. Usually around Mother's Day is when I actually plant that stuff in the ground. George says, hot cross buns just came out of the oven. Until next time, have a good one, guys. Thank you for joining us today. George, hopefully you have a good dinner, the good rest of your week, and we'll get to see you again sometime soon, I'm sure. Jonathan says, turkeys. Oh, okay. Now I'm with you. Are the turkey hens setting right now? Settling or setting? I'm not sure if I understand exactly what you're asking. Zort's in South Texas. I guess it is breeding season. I don't know if they're actually, on nests right now or if they're, still up looking for mates. I really don't know. I haven't been out there yet, but I got to hunt when the season's open. So Life Done Cheap with Lee says, I'm taking off. Thanks for answering my questions. Happy Easter, everyone. Happy Easter to you too. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah, Jonathan says settings. Yeah, sorry I'm having a hard time following tonight. Jonathan says settings. Are the hens setting? Like I think you mean like setting on their nests right now. And I really don't know. And then how long does turkey season last? It opens up Monday, and I believe it's 2 weeks. We get 2 weekends out of it. It may be 10 days or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I'm taking one day off work to go opening day. If I don't get one and it's not super rainy, the next weekend we'll go the weekend. We've got 2 weekends left to be able to hunt it. Bev Smith says, I'm in zone here. I could look up the actual date for you because I've got an app for that. Let's see what it says. Oh my goodness, I don't want to see this right now. I got to log in. It's going to take a while. So, let's see, how quickly can I do that? There we go. The seasons. Okay, turkey spring is April 21st through May 11th. So that's the standard. The youth season's already run. It was last weekend or something. Bev says, I'm in zone 9B and was way late getting my beds built and filled for planting. Just threw in a bunch of seeds 2 weeks ago. I'll plan better next year. That's the good thing about gardening. You can always do better next year, right? Zora says, thank you so much. Great podcast. Well, thank you. Hopefully you have a good evening. Jonathan says, did you hear about Arkansas? They stopped frog gagging, I think it's gigging, while in breeding season. Huh, no, I didn't know that. We've got a season on frogs here. I don't remember what it is. It's been a while since I've been frogging. I never gig. I always just catch them by hand. That way, if I don't get very many, I can just toss them back. Or if they're not big enough, something like that. Frog legs are good. I like frog legs quite a bit. Old Country Garden says turkey season is 5 weeks in northern Wisconsin. Yeah, you've got more turkey there probably. How are we doing on time? Oh, right at time to wrap up here. Alan says, good night, everyone. Have a great Easter. Remember, he is risen. Amen. That is the reason we celebrate Easter, right? Bill Cox says, we get about 2 months turkey season. Good grief, that's a long time. Bev says, what's frog gagging? I think it's gigging. Frog gigging is what it is, not gagging. I knew what you meant. All right, I got to wrap this one up, guys. So thanks for joining me tonight. Everybody have a great Easter. Don't forget to praise the one that we celebrate. And we will see you guys on the next live broadcast. Should be next week. Don't see any reason why we won't. And until then, as always, God bless.